Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We went to movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained as pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the favorite bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Santa's podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about their favorite flicks from childhood. I'm Sweetie with a Y.
And I'm Sweetie with an IE.
And hey, it's me again. 2 in a row, Sweetie with a Y. Here she comes.
I told you it would happen.
Well, I know. I mean, I think I requested, didn't I request it? I requested it to happen. Anyways, if you haven't been following the latest at the Sweetie Club here on Large Marge Santa's, Sweetie picked 2 movies in a row because she like finagled the weeks or like messed them up on purpose or whatever. And I'm just kidding.
On purpose? That is rude.
She got her normal pick and then she got her birthday pick, quote unquote, the week after. So now I got 2 in a row. So last week, you know, I'm not going for award winners here. I'm not going for good movies, let's say.
We're out of award winners.
Just movies that I enjoyed, and I think that I would still enjoy today for different reasons. But this one fits snugly in the super 80s camp, which Sweetie was talking about a couple movies ago.
Super 80s camp.
She's out of control. One of the guys.
It's becoming my new favorite genre of late. It just makes me so happy.
Yeah, it's a good one. So tonight, took it a little spooky and went with Once Bitten.
Once Bitten.
Once Bitten.
Once Bitten.
It's good. Yeah, Jim Carrey, guys. Little sweet little pup. Jim Carrey. What year was this film made? Sweetie dates, Sweetie?
1985.
Hey. Oh, I'm always excited. I'm always like, hey, it's your birthday. It's never your birthday.
It's
nobody's
nobody's
my birthday.
birthday.
It's Haley Nickerson's birthday.
It's a lot of my friends'
birth year.
birth year. Yeah.
But yeah, so exactly mid 80s, super 80s, and not to the point where it's like comic, like costumey, you know?
Yeah.
It's like real 80s.
Yeah. I feel like my favorite 80s movies are between 83 and 86, I want to say. Because when you get like 1980 or 1 or even 2, too close to the 70s, right? And then you get to the late 80s, too close to the 90s. But like the real good 80s shit is 83, 84, 85.
Because it needs time.
86.
It needs time to solidify and become its own decade.
Right, exactly, which is like just like the middle. And coincidentally, also the years that we were born, 83 to 86.
Oh my God.
What is up?
Yeah. Great years.
Yeah, so not Jim Carrey's first movie, actually. I thought it was, but he had been in like another 1 or 2 like small bit parts. But I would say if you're going to categorize it, his first starring role. Which,
how old was he?
I'm not sure, but I think like pretty young. I mean, he's got to be like early 20s, right? Babyface. I mean, he looks basically the same. The guy is like aged well, let's say. I mean, I don't think like a lot is going on there, but
maybe he's a vampire.
Maybe he's a vampire. I don't know. But yeah, super fun, hot dose of the 80s tonight for sure. And yes, along with like a little spooky vibe, which I'll say, like, don't just save those for Halloween times, guys. Vampires are always a good time. I always love a good like vampire romp, I will say. And you know why I think? It's because they really play fast and loose with like the vampire lore. Like there's not always the same, like, okay, the main rules are there, which is why vampires are so familiar, right? So you're like, okay, drinks blood, check. Like sleeps in a coffin, sleeps at night, check. Has fangs, check. But then they're like loosey-goosey with all the other rules, so they can kind of like do whatever they want. And that's what they do in this one. Also appreciate, and we'll go into it, but they flipped, gender kind of flipped on its head, where I couldn't even think of one where there was like a female well, countess she's called in this, but like the Dracula person is a female. How cool is that?
Because it's usually about about like the male vampire like seducing the virgin girl and then turning her into a vampire or whatever, and like
totally. And like, say what you want about 80s movies, but I feel like they almost did way more of like a better like flip with gender stuff than even the 90s. I don't know. I feel like they like took those chances more for some reason. Like the 90s, it was kind of like a blip, and then they like took that up again in the 2000s. But 80s, they really like tried for that shit, and I really appreciate it.
True.
I'll have more examples, but on top of my head, I'm thinking Baby Boom. I'm thinking Just One of the Guys. I'm thinking this one.
Why is Baby Boom a gender swap?
A gender swap, but it was like looking into like the life of like a CEO or, you know, that level of business person if it was a woman and what that like story would be, essentially.
I guess. But they wouldn't put a man with a baby all of a sudden.
Why not?
I don't know. But yeah, no, totally. So some peeps in this. I mean, some. So we got Jim Carrey. Obviously, strange to see him in a straight, not a straight man. I mean, he has opportunity to like use his Jim Carrey facial, like crazy facial expressions and impressions and stuff.
And I was waiting for it because I was like, does this happen in this movie? But I think you're hard pressed to find any Jim Carrey movie where it doesn't shine out just like a tiny, tiny little bit because he like can't help it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Robin Williams, like you know, and yeah, it's just like you just like hit that switch and then you're off. Yeah. And it's funny to watch this and then you see like clear inspirations or something in this movie led to like stuff he did in Ace Ventura, like for instance, like there's a moment on the couch where he's getting like kind of like felt up or felt down or whatever. Did we talk about this already? Yeah. What's the term for that? Playing hide the salami, and he's like doing the same stuff that he does in Ace Ventura, and he's like, whoa, okay, getting pretty friendly down there, like that kind of thing. So it's neat to see that, but yeah, hasn't lost his touch. Good times. We've got Lauren Hutton, right? Not Lori Hutton. Yep. Lauren
Hutton,
who was a famous supermodel, like back in the days in the like 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Had that like cool gap in her teeth. Right. Made her stand out really well. Gorgeous. She plays the Countess, she's great. I think she looks great. We should have looked at how old people were in this. But how old do you think she?
I don't know. Is she like 30s? You don't think she's older than that? I don't know. I mean, supermodels 50s. Are tricky. Oh no, I don't know if she's that old. I mean, let's look it up. But I mean, the supermodels are tricky, right? Because they're like hot all the time. I will say I'm obsessed with her décolletage. She basically didn't wear a bra this whole time. She doesn't really need to because she has tiny boobs, but she has like the most amazing chest, and is always wearing these dresses that are like super plunging neckline, low cut. Mm-hmm. Okay, so she was born in 1943. So yeah, you're right. She was in her 40s. Yeah, you're right. Early 40s. When she made this. So, yeah, but yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, she did like kind of have that look, but she's drop dead gorgeous, and they put her in these amazing clothes. Of course, she has like tiny supermodel stick legs, nice hair, always like cool lipstick. Yeah, she was cool. I mean, you had to hate her because, you know, she was a vampire, but also pretty likable.
Sure. Yeah, totally fashionable vampire. And then that's really it for like big names. A couple cameos. Well, okay, go ahead.
Oh, so the main one I saw was Megan Mullally.
Yeah.
Who is like a girl in the high school, which like if you like blink, she's in 2 scenes, but she really looks like pretty different. So you got to kind of have to look hard.
The way she talks and like delivers the line, you're like, oh yeah, that's her.
Yeah.
And then the woman who is Robin is like the bitchy girlfriend or girlfriend, I think, in Troop Beverly Hills of Craig T. Nelson.
That's who it was.
yeah.
Oh, that was driving me nuts because I've seen her in something else, and I wanted to say it was Mary in Babes in Toyland, 80s version Drew Barrymore, because for some reason that girl, like, they reminded me, but I was like, it's not her. Okay.
No.
Oh, I get it. Okay, True Beverly Hills, good one.
She may have also been in an episode of Saved by the Bell, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So I always had like a weird conflicting love-hate relationship with her because she's the worst in True Beverly Hills, but I like her, especially by the end in this movie. She's awesome.
I had like a total girl crush on her in this one. I was like, first of all, she's like really, really cute, and I'm always drawn to brunettes. Hello, like I'm a brunette, so I'm like, you're cute, I'm cute, we're cute. And then like her attitude is like so awesome, especially when she's like starts to fight for Mark and stuff. I don't know. I was really drawn to her, and I read this trivia fact that said like test audiences loved that character so much that they like added her to the movie poster because they like she had such a good reaction from like the fans and stuff. So I was like, you go, Robin, for like making it onto the movie poster because of your chops, your acting chops. Yeah. Good for you.
But that's it, I think.
Yeah, I didn't really notice anyone else.
Yeah.
The friends didn't like ring any bell. The like gay guy who was always in the closet, the like vampire chauffeur guy, like
oh my god, obsessed.
Yeah, and none of the other vampires either. I don't think were like anybody. So or the mom and dad or anything. Yeah, so like no other side roles. So like where'd those people go? Who knows? Lost to the 80s for sure. But yeah, really funny movie. I wouldn't even say this is like a good bad movie or good movie. Good bad movie.
I think it's just a good movie.
I think it's a good movie. I like really enjoy it. So what are your earliest memories of this movie?
So I couldn't remember if it was like you were watching it or something, and I was like, "What's this?" and I like tagged along or whatever, like if it was on TV. Or I do remember watching it like downstairs. In our basement, our furnished basement, at, like late at night on like Showtime or something, that it was on. Even though there's like not really any nudity, but there's that part where the two girls like take off their dresses. Yeah. And that was like suggestive enough to me to be like, sex. So I remember that, but then it could have also been my friend Sarah Horton was like obsessed with Jim Carrey, and we like watched all his movies because she was super obsessed with him and like in love with him. And this could have been one of them. So it was one of those experiences.
Yeah, I agree. I think like totally all TV for me. I remembered the dance off scene like a little bit. And then I remembered mostly the end scene when they're like running away from the vampires and then they have sex in the casket. That's kind of the only part that I really remembered. But I agree. It felt like a very scandalous movie. There's not like actual, like you don't see a lot of sex, but it's talked about all the time. Right. And that as a young person where, sex is starting to dominate the conversation, that seemed like very cool and very like, ooh, like taboo. Like, I can't believe we're talking about this. I mean, I will say that like the virgin themed sort of thing is, I wouldn't say it's like only, you see it a lot in 80s movies. It certainly pops up, I feel like in every decade, but it feels like a little bit more in the 80s and how much that was just like a thing to revolve around. And they do like an interesting thing, obviously, but tying it to the vampire lore, right? Because, we'll explain a little bit about it, but the vampire lore in this one is kind of connected to the countess getting blood from a virgin. So it's like tied into that. It also takes place in California and Hollywood, where I feel like there's a whole theme around that with like eternal youth and being young. So that part was interesting, but like these like movies that just spend all their time like focusing on people losing their virginity, I'm just like, oh my God, like why was that such a thing?
Because it just seemed like such an important thing, and like it's probably because of movies like this,
right,
where they made you feel like ashamed for being a virgin. Especially if you were a guy, like they're like, there's a part where they're like, an 18-year-old virgin. Yeah. Yeah, right. And it's like, oh my God.
And
so,
but like for this one, is what's interesting is that it's not that he didn't have the opportunity. It's because he had a girlfriend of 6 years. So it's not like the side of things like, oh, I'm a virgin because like I'm a loser and I can't get a girl or whatever.
But let me just state for the record that Mark is trash, and he is like the worst. I just like kept thinking about it in this movie, and it was like we'll get into it, but like he's definitely trash.
And and like Robin, like what the hell is she thinking for even like speaking to him again? Like after that, you're like gonna spend. Like, I mean,
oh, okay, you just got kidnapped by a vampire. It's all right. Like it's very weird.
No, we'll talk about it. I agree. Like again, like. I don't know. I find it hard to. I agree, Mark is trash, but like when him being played as Jim Carrey, it's very hard for me to like not like him. Yeah. And it, like if he was a jerkier person, like there's obviously an innocence to him and like whatever, he didn't think he did anything wrong. But I agree, like what a shitty boyfriend, and he should be kicked to the curb. Let's just say that right off the bat. No need to explain any further, though we will. But yeah, no, I'm pumped. Let's go vampires. And I got quotes. Can you believe it? I got quotes this time.
Shit. I just want to say one thing is that the only problem with this movie is that gay panic. And it's sad, and it is Pride Month, and it's just sad to see that in these movies. And I know it was like a big part, you know, with
trans and homophobia,
developing AIDS. Homophobia due to like the developing AIDS crisis. Yep. And it's really sad, and so it really gives you perspective now. Looking back, you're like, damn, so fucked up. And it makes you just, I mean, we already have examples in our culture, but like people will watch movies 40, 30 years from now and be like, wow, that was really fucked up. That they thought that was okay.
And we talked about all the time, it feels like, you know, you had movie studios or writers or whoever just like checking off boxes, being like, okay, do we have like a homophobic joke here?
Right.
Do we have like an awkward interaction with like a trans person? Like it just really feels like that for 80s movies. And it's so weird. I don't know like what was going on in script writing rooms or boardrooms or whatever. Just blows my mind that was be like, okay, like let's hit these notes because they're like the comedy surefire way. Let's have like a gross misogynist joke. Let's have a guy wearing a shirt that says like casual gynecologist or something. You know, like what the hell? Like crazy. Stop it. All that stuff. So, you know, it's getting better, hopefully.
Yep. Yeah, maybe. Okay, yeah, so let's do it. Can't wait for these quotes. I mean, how many quotes are we talking? Are you going to use them all at one time or what?
Well, I should have said my other one before because it was kind of symbolic of what I was talking about before. Okay, I mean, I can do both of them, but wow, special day, guys. 2 quotes. Wait. Usually I don't even have one.
I thought you were just going into them, and I was like, no.
It's time for the Sweetie Synopsis, yeah.
Sweeties.
There's too much pressure for getting laid. It's like taking a driver's test for manhood. Amen, skinny friend who has nervous stomach problems. Totally, right? Like, that is exactly what it is, and what I just said before. Like, this, like, they, like, basically, like, explain it in the movie. Like, what is this pressure? My second quote is said by Robin.
Yes.
Which confirms that Mark is trash. So you're like this. I can't believe you're throwing our 6-year relationship away on a chauffeur and a butler and a slut who eats buttons.
I love it. Slut who eats buttons. No. Good. My favorite one of hers is when she's like, Mark doesn't like you. I love that. You're mean and whatever, and I'm sweet and innocent and nice. So fuck off. Yeah. So fuck off.
Oh, it was great. It was so great. So I like jumped up from my seat and clapped. I was like, yeah. I was
Robin's #1 fan.
Oh my god, I love her. I'm gonna get a poster of her. I'll be like, nice. Robin. It reminds me of when we watched Teen Wolf, and we like love that his friend in that Boof.
George?
No, Boof. Remember Boof? She had like a weird name, and we were like, Boof is the best. Like she, like fucking so Teen Wolf sucked. Like she was the best. I know.
Yeah, come on. Okay, synopsis. The Countess is a 400-year-old vampire living in Hollywood, California. although she is 400 years old, she looks in her 40s, let's say. But she looks like a babe, and she looks good. She looks good for her age. She lives in like a sprawling, like mansion estate kind of place. She has like the whole place to herself, gets her own bedroom and stuff, but makes her little vampire like friends. They can only wear whatever outfit they died in. They can't
Not
switch
always.
it.
They were all in suits at the end and dresses.
Okay, unless it is a special circumstance like Halloween. Otherwise, they have to wear what they have, and they have to sleep in the same coffin they came in. So bad news for the guy who sleeps in like a basket, basically. Let's say, or maybe that would be comfortable. I don't know.
Bad
But I
news
just
for
thought
the guy, the Confederate soldier or whatever, who had to have like a bullet belt and wear that like stupid little cap the whole time.
Okay, we've talked about. Wait, have we talked about this before? How we hate those little caps,
I hate
even if
those
it's
caps.
even if it's like the Union. It's like the style, that Civil War style cap is just too much.
Yeah, it's too much.
for me. Really can't handle it. So she and her kind of butler assistant Sebastian are plotting her taking over like a virgin boy. So basically what she needs to keep her youth and beauty is to drink the blood of a virgin every year.
3 times. So she complains about it because she's like, it's really hard to keep this up. 3 times before Halloween every year. So this is like what I was talking about, like the kind of like fast and loose rules with vampirism.
Yeah.
Like I've never heard of this particular rule before.
And they make a point of it being like, well, male vampires don't have to worry about this.
Right.
Like
So
it's just.
So I think it's a commentary thing. It's supposed to be like saying like, okay,
Right.
this eternal youth thing, like this is how the women vampires get it. Does it have to be
And
a
men
male?
don't have to worry about that.
Does it have to be a male
Yeah,
virgin?
that was my question.
I think
that was
so.
my question too, because they keep making a big deal about the like inner thigh, like close to the.
Yeah, because
dick
it's
or
like
whatever.
a sexual thing. But then, so like, who are her little vampire minions from all the different like time periods? Those are just people who she has
Right,
turned
I
into
don't-
vampires, and
Right.
no, but one comments
no,
about
I
being
think-
a virgin, like the Civil
Right,
War
so
one.
they all were. So I guess you can be a girl. 'Cause
Okay.
there were girl ones too, and I guess it doesn't matter because it's not like you have to have sex with them.
well,
it's
maybe
just
she
that
swings both ways too. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's like
sure she does.
whatever.
I mean, she really just cares about the virgin blood.
Right.
And that's the thing. They make a big point in this movie, being like, "Oh, it's L.A. We'll never find a virgin here,"
Right.
and it's like a very dire situation that like the the world is low on virgins,
Right.
Because it's 1985 and no one's a virgin, which is like. When does it start? Like, when does the age start? Because there's a lot of children you can just steal and
well,
like,
they
drink
make
their blood.
a comment on that. They're like, the last one we found was an 11-year-old, and she's like, "Ugh, be serious! Like that's so gross." So I think it has to there has to be like sort of a legal like sexual explanation to it, and Mark ends up being 18, right? So he's like of age.
Just right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because you
So-
don't, in the way they're talking about virginity, like you don't really like think about it with children, like that level of virginity and
No,
talking about
I
it
guess
like
I'm-
that is really more like, I don't know, 16 years old or something.
Well, I'm thinking of in the Monster Squad.
Yeah, right.
When they needed a virgin girl to read the thing or whatever, and the sister ends up not being a virgin, and then the little stupid whatever his face is, Pete. No, that's the dog. The little one that we hate.
Eugene.
Eugene is like, what about her?
But that
and,
was just
you know,
like what they
the
had to do.
5-year-old.
But I feel like in vampire lore, it is supposed to be like like a maiden. So you're talking about like 15, 16, 17, whatever. Anyway, not important.
Yes, so that's the sitch, getting dire. So switch to Mark Kendall, who is an 18-year-old senior in high school. He and his 2 loser friends are appalled that they can't get laid.
Wait, hot take. Do they work at Clown Dog?
So this movie like reminded me a lot, and I realized I confused a lot of it with Killer Clowns from Outer Space. There's a lot of like similarities, and one of them is that clown motif imagery. But you're right. It could be like a clown dog, but it seemed just like a shack.
Yeah,
you know?
it's
like
just a shack.
It wasn't a franchise.
But in my mind, I'm like, what is with these franchises in California that tie in the circus with like fast food?
Why
Honestly,
do they
I've
think
never
we want
seen it.
delicious burgers
I've never
at
seen
a
it.
circus?
We don't have that out here.
What-
The Northeast, we do not tie in clowns and the big top and whatever with like hot dogs and burgers. I'm just saying.
And having a good time.
Yes.
I'm not like, oh, I want to have a great time and eat a burger and be around clowns. No one says that. No one wants
No,
that.
it's weird. It's weird.
It's very weird. So yeah, so it's two friends, and then they're all pissed, whatever, because they're not getting laid. Mark has a girlfriend, so he should be able to. He should be able to get laid, guys, because that's just natural, right? So he takes her to the like sex lookout spot or whatever, where everyone's having sex, including people in like convertibles and open like Jeeps, like very inappropriate.
Okay. And for the record, I want to say if anyone has had that actually in their real life or their high school, please let us know, because again, I feel like this is an 80s, 90s trope where I'm like, did this really exist? Was
Well,
there a
maybe
makeout spot? We didn't
Maybe
have one.
the part of the problem is we didn't have like an overlook ridge like California has those like overlooks or whatever, and it's all maybe it's that. But I mean people went to the drive-in and had sex, right?
Wow. I don't like
I mean,
literally. I mean, I was a pretty
did.
big like sexual loser in high school, but I didn't know of any of that stuff. Maybe they did. Who knows? I wasn't doing it.
Well, the point is, guys, sex in a car, not comfortable.
Right.
So, so he's trying to get Robin to have sex with him, and she's really not comfortable. And she's like, I just want it to be special, and I don't think it's going to be special here, surrounded by like all these people also having sex, like super creep. She has a point. Don't lose your virginity in a fucking car. Not worth it. Not worth it. So he gets mad and like is very rude and like slams the door and like walks away and then goes outside and there's all these people around him having sex and he's like, God, is everyone having sex?
Did you also
Like-
notice that there was like an oil derrick like doing that like the in and
Okay,
out?
well, I was wondering what that was for. I thought someone else was like triggering it, so I didn't even like make that connection. But that's pretty. It's pretty.
It,
funny.
it was. I mean, there's like clever little things in this movie where I'm like, okay, this isn't
Yeah.
so bad.
So yeah, so he and his friends like get together and they're like, we gotta do something about this. We can't be the only 18-year-old people who haven't had sex. So they decide to go out clubbing in Hollywood, and they land on date. What's it called? I wrote it down. I thought like date your or phone a date. So it's this club in LA, in Hollywood, where you like sit around a bunch of tables that have numbers, and then each table has a phone, and you can be like, oh, there's a cute guy at table 15, and then you call table 15, and you're like, hey, my name's Jessica, like I'm at table 12. But what if he's like, ooh, no thanks, and like hangs up? Like it just seems like
That's what
it's
you
a
do.
little too much. It's like close like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like with like dating apps and stuff like that, like you can be like, ooh, I don't like that person. But
Right.
this is more like you have to on the spot like reject someone if you don't like them. It just seems like a lot of pressure.
Well, I mean, that's like what going to bars is like. Someone's like, oh, hey, like, and talks to you. Can I have your number? No.
Yeah. So they go there. As luck would have it, this may be also the Countess's like spot to find young lovers, but maybe not. I think maybe they try a different club every night. It seems like in the beginning scene they show her vampire cronies like looking for virgins, and then they see an ice cream truck and they're like, virgin.
Okay.
And then they follow it,
So,
and then they go to that club.
We didn't mention that Mark has this like side job. Okay, I've never heard of this BTW. This side job, he's in high school, but like his part-time job or whatever is he drives an ice cream truck. Mind you, like it's his mode of transportation, but it seems like the ice cream truck is always available. So he'll just be like parked on the side of the road and people will come up to him and be like 2 fudgicles, and then he'll like go in the back. It just seems like a very casual ice cream truck.
It's like when taxi drivers like have the cab at their house, like
yes.
that's their car.
Yeah, but
and
like
their mode of
what
transportation.
18-year-old has like a fully stocked ice cream truck that they also use as like their own car?
Right? Who's running this operation?
don't
And
know.
like it's very strange, and it's not like they need it for anything. Like there's one scene where they kind of like make use of that,
Yeah.
of like of him selling ice cream. But other than that, like, it didn't need to be an ice cream truck.
And I also
Very
like,
strange.
how much money are you making from that? Like, you know, every couple days you maybe do a couple bucks.
A couple nickels. Like,
Is that your gas money? Like, what is happening?
yeah, it's weird. But so yeah, so they're in the club, and then they get a call on the phone. It's a woman at the bar, and she wants to talk to Mark. So Mark goes over there, and it's this woman, and she tells him to call her the Countess. And she's like, let's go. You don't want to be with your friends anymore. And then she like uses her vampire magic to like make a fight happen. And this guy whips out a gun. It's very chaotic. So everyone like runs, and Mark goes off with the Countess. She and Sebastian take him to her mansion, her Hollywood mansion. So he thinks he's being seduced, basically. I mean, which he is. But she bites him, like basically on his inner thigh, and he seems to pass out right away. So she like drinks his blood or whatever. I mean, who knows what happens? He is passed out sleeping, and then he wakes up and is like, "What happened?" So he thinks that they had sex and he was great, and she like lies to him because she wants to see him again so that she can drink his blood 2 more times. So she gives him a glass of juice, sends him on his way. P.S. Mark loves his juice. I love this. I love this like weird side plot. There's like 2 weird things where you're like, why are they telling us this? One is he likes his burgers cooked burnt black like a hockey puck. Like if it's not disintegrating into pieces and dust, he doesn't want to eat it, it seems like. And then number 2, he likes a glass of juice. So keep those 2 facts in mind, let's say. So he goes back home, and he's feeling good. He thinks he's had sex, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, let's keep this on the DL because I have a girlfriend. And she's like, oh, I'm used to being the other woman. So back at school, he and his friends are like rehashing the night, and he's like telling them about it or something. And Robin overhears that. I missed the part where
she's like right behind them.
Okay. Right. So bad news. They get in a fight. She's like, take your ring back. Like, I can't believe.
I mean, mind you, I don't know if you said this or not, but they've dated for 6 years.
6?
This isn't just like
4.
Oh, like okay, like you know, we're just dating this senior year or 2 years. Like they've dated like basically all through high school, and I mean 6 years, and from middle school too. They've known each other forever. So you know, it's frustrating because it's like, okay, he clearly. I think he does it just to like get it over with. So he didn't want to pressure her anymore to do it. So he felt like once he did it, like he would be fine, which is sort of his like reason behind it. But yikes, buddy. Like, what are you thinking? And so Robin finds out, and basically what I said in my like little quote there, they've been dating for 6 years, and he just like threw it all away to just like hook up with some stranger, and he doesn't even remember.
Right.
Like, what
Great.
the hell?
Good job, Mark. So they kind of have a riff. Meanwhile, Mark kind of starts acting strange. He's looking a little pale. His dad comes up to talk to him, and Mark gets up out of the bed chest, little chest at the end of his bed. I don't know why that's so trunk. Sorry, the trunk. I think it's so funny, and it's just like. He just like casually opens the trunk and is like, "Oh, hi, Dad." His dad is like so freaked out. He's like, "What are you doing in there, son?"
Taking a nap.
So he's been up all night. He can't sleep. Hello, vampire. He now likes to wear black. He's wearing sunglasses. He thinks some lights are too bright. He likes his meat rare now. He's in the cafeteria food line, and he's like, no, not that one. No, rare. Can I have one of those raw ones? And she's like, okay, and just like gives this student a raw hamburger patty. I thought that was funny. So yeah, he's just weird things are happening, right?
Yeah. So again, like loosey-goosey vampire stuff here. Seems like in this story, because traditional vampire stories, right? You get bitten, you're a vampire. That's it.
No. There's like a whole thing now about like you get bitten, you have to die, and then you're a vampire, or like you get bitten and then over time you turn into one. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So this one is, it really has to be a 3-bite process before you're like officially a vampire. But like the first bite slowly starts turning you into one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it seemed like anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now the Countess needs to come back and get him again. So she needs to go out and find him. So I don't know. They use her vampire magic or whatever and like know where he is going to be at all times. Because they just show up at this clothing boutique that Robin works at. But at this point, wait, when did they make up?
Yeah,
it's like at school. Oh yeah, it's at school. She's like, Mark, like I want to have sex too, like probably as much as you do, but like I just want it to be the right time.
Right.
And then they make up, and she like just for some reason like forgets that he completely cheated on her just to have sex with someone. It's very strange. And he's not like sorry about it at all. He's like, he just made me so mad. Like it's her fault that she doesn't want to have sex and like give me a break. So they've made up. So she's at work at this like awesome clothing store in the 80s, which reminded me of a little bit of the Head and Foot store in Orleans. I mean, not as crazy, but like the upstairs downstairs kind of vibe.
And just like how the clothing was laid out.
Yeah, and like the
fitting rooms.
I don't know, it was just fun. Yeah. So the fitting rooms, totally. So Mark shows up and they're like, she's like, let's pick out a shirt for you or whatever. So they pick out an outfit, and who should show up in the dressing room? The Countess. I like saying Countess, even though it's like the Countess. Like, how do you say the Countess?
The Countess. The Countess.
Countess.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm saying it weird. So she's in the dressing room, and she gets them for the second time. So she's now done 2 bites. So she only needs 1 more. And Robin just thinks he passed out or whatever and is like acting weird. So now it is the pre-Halloween bop, which I guess is the day before Halloween. It's not specified. All we know is it's before Halloween. So apparently Robin and Mark were supposed to go as Jack and Jill. It seems like. He couldn't get his costume in time. It was unclear to me like if she had told him that the theme was Jack and Jill. Or if she was like, let's dress alike. Like, where's the communication here? Why isn't she like, how's your Jack costume? You know, like checking in on the progress.
What is the Jack costume?
It's like the same as hers, but with like little overalls and then a pail that says Jack and like a little hat.
Okay.
Like the nursery rhyme.
No, I know. But like, I'm just trying to think like, I don't know. I just feel like I was not impressed with, we love a good, okay, first of all, I love almost any 80s movies that, I mean, I feel like they have to include a dance, right? Like any 80s high school movie has, maybe 90s too, but like has to include a dance. And I look forward to it so much, first of all. Bonus when it's a costume one, because you can be like, good. Okay, what were the popular 80s costumes? Here's ones that I miss. Ready? Farmer. Who's a farmer anymore? That seems like really outdated. Convict with like striped, basically like pajamas and like a ball and chain. I was really looking for more like of the timely ones, but they were more like historical, and I was really bummed because I'm like, okay, this is 1985. What were the cool, like timely of the moment pop culture history like kind of ones? Yeah, didn't see it.
The ones I found were weird painters, like dude painters, like whoa, what's happening? Which was like a character theme in the 80s, 90s. I could think of like 2 shows.
What's a weird painter? What were they wearing?
Just like, okay, like in Rugrats, there's these 2 like teenage boy characters who are like always bad at their job, and sometimes they're painters. So they wear like white overalls, and there's like paint all over them, and then they have like crazy hair hid under a baseball cap, and they talk in like surfer accents.
That's a costume?
Apparently, but it was also in Saved by the Bell, like an episode in that, and like I don't know if it's like a thing. I don't know. And then I saw someone dressed as a domino. Interesting.
I saw the domino.
Here was a weird one. Someone was dressed as an 80s girl, yes. Quote unquote.
I saw many 80s girls, and I was like, wait a minute.
Aren't you just wearing regular clothes?
Yes.
Very strange. One guy was wearing just the fencing mask, maybe the fencing vest. Who's to say? And then someone was dressed as a box. And another person, here's a brilliant one, had on a Mickey Mouse shirt.
Okay, so, I agree. I was really expecting like way more from this. Like what did we watch? Like Never Been Kissed that had like those like kind of pretty epic Halloween costumes or like a costume contest.
Okay,
this
but
was
did you
like
see the
a
guy
fail.
what about the guy with like with the blow up balloon fish like on his head?
Yeah, who was that?
What?
I don't know.
It's like one of those balloons that are like in the Stop and Shop in the aisles, and
I
you're
mean,
like, ooh, at the
honestly,
register, you're like, yeah, balloon.
80s movies that, or whatever, 80s movies that do like a costume sort of style dance, it feels like Where's Waldo to me, where I'm like manically scanning the room and being like, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Who's that?
I had to rewind it because I was like missing crucial
Lucky.
dance scene
Oh,
parts because I was like missing stuff. But yeah, so it's the pre-Halloween bop, you guys. It's a good time. So Mark is supposed to come as Jack. He comes as
Himself.
not a vampire. He's just wearing his clothes, he thinks, but everyone thinks he's a vampire.
Yeah, but at this point, he loves black, so wears head to toe black, and he looks very pale. I mean, his face is like basically painted white. That's how pale he is.
And he's discovered gel.
yeah, and he's gelled.
Yeah, he's gelled his hair, shellacked his hair, if you will. So they're at the dance. They're having a good time. And who should show up but the Countess? So she kind of steals Mark, and then Robin fights back, and then there's this great dance scene, which we'll talk about. Robin basically wins, and the Countess stalks off and is like, oh, I underestimated that little bitch. And then, whatever, they devise their next plan. So the plan is to kidnap Robin so that Mark will go after her, and then they will get him and then do the final bite, basically. So they take Robin. They tell her that Mark is at the. They have Mark or whatever, and he needs her, so she goes in the limo with Sebastian. Mark goes after her with his two friends, and then they find. I mean, at this point, they know that she's a vampire because Mark keeps having these dreams that like suggest she's a vampire. Like she bites him and is bleeding, and like there's one where Mark is this weird bat puppet like on a string and like comes in. So he's like drawing the dots, and then Robin goes to some like occult bookstore and like figures out that the women vampires need the blood of a virgin to survive and like be young and beautiful. So they figured it out at this point. So which is good for them. I feel like there's at least a period of disbelief for I don't know, a longer time than the 2 hours that they decided to believe this.
Right.
So they get to the house, and Robin's tied up, and she's like, Mark, is it a trap? Is that what she says? No.
No, I mean, they rescue her, but then like the vampires come.
The vampires
so
all come
it,
out,
like
yeah.
her like
because they're expecting them.
yeah, they're like whole because it's like the big night. It's like the third bite or whatever. So they had this like whole ceremony. They're all the vampires, like we said, are from different time periods. So it's kind of cool. There's like a World War II one, a Civil War one, a Mall Flandered one. She's like a Australian accent. Hippie one.
Like Cockney, I thought.
Two like jockey twin ones. Guido jockey twin ones. Where are they from? I don't know. A Cabana Boy one or something. I forgot like who that guy was. Yeah.
Like a cabin boy.
Cabin Boy, yeah.
Weird. A
So-
hippie. Did you say flower child?
Yeah, so there's like hippie one.
Yeah.
So they're like this kind of like vampire entourage, and they just kind of like hang out with her. I don't know, and they like help her get like the new victims, right? So they're all
But again,
like
they have to sleep in the basement, and they seem to have a shitty life.
yeah,
So.
in their like own little like specialized coffins. So they are all dressed up, and it's this big ceremony. So they unveil this like thing, basically like almost like a medical or like dental chair with like stirrups, where they're basically just gonna like plot Mark, and she's gonna do her final bite like in his leg, like groin area, which is like this sort of sexualized bite thing that they have going on. So Robin's there, and then his two friends are also there because they came with him to go get Robin. So they're like all there. Robin ends up escaping and like uses her cross necklace to like get them away, and then the two friends use some of the torches that were like lighting up the room to make the vampires like all go away. So they rescue Mark, so they get him away from them, and then it's this like vampire chase through like the whole mansion. The friends kind of lead them off or get the vampires away for a while, but eventually it's just like 5 minutes of them like chasing them around this mansion and like
It is
coming
quite
to dead ends. It's like a fun house. They're going like through slides and everything. I'm like, what is
Just
this
like-
place?
Just like Killer Clowns from Outer
Yeah,
Space.
yeah, it
There's
did-
a lot of similarities here.
It did feel like that. So finally, Mark and Robin end up in this room, and it's the coffin room. So it's all the different coffins, and they like barricade all the doors, but then they're stuck there. But then they get this brilliant idea that like, hello, the only reason why they want Mark is because he's a virgin. How do we eliminate that part of the equation. Hello, stick a P in the V. Let's go. So they hop in a coffin and they do it real quick. And, you know, it's his first time, so it doesn't take that long. And boom, problem solved.
Can you imagine, like, just being able to get in the mood, like, when your, like, adrenaline is, and you're, like, chased after, and you're like, okay, now we're going to have sex.
That was the biggest unbelievable part of this movie. Yeah. Honestly, I believe the vampires. I do not believe that someone who's, like, so stressed out could be, like, get a boner and be able to have sex. Just saying. But maybe it's your first time. You're, like, way too excited. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But here's my question. If fire is dangerous to vampires, why do they have these, like, giant torches and, like, candles at all?
That is
like,
what Jimmy said. That is so funny. We were watching and he's like, wait, why are they so scared of these tiny little dinky candles? There's, like, flames all around this place. Wow, you guys are two peas in a pod.
2 peas in a pod over here. Yeah, I thought that was totes weird. Yeah, so it's too late. Midnight occurs, so she didn't make it.
Baby, now it's too late.
Yep. What song is that?
What is that? Carole King. Too late, baby, now it's too late.
Okay. And she starts turning into an old woman. And so you would expect her to turn into what a 400-year-old woman would look like. But she really just looks like
Dust.
85.
I know.
Max. She should be dust. Yeah. I wasn't hoping she would transition just to a poof.
Me too.
Like, poof. Gone. But she's just a really old lady. So, and I'm unclear whether if she does this again and is able to secure a virgin, does she just turn back to what she looked like?
Same, but it's like how, you know, if when you're that old, then how, because her whole thing was like a sex appeal thing. So she was able to get these virgins by seducing them. So how do you seduce someone when you're that old?
See, this is the woman problem.
Yes.
How do you get roles when you're past a certain age?
It's
in
a
Hollywood?
commentary on the fate of women in society, guys.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So that's it. And then, you know, Mark and Robin are just having a good time. They're like, hey, we like sex now. So
They go for round number 2.
They go for round 2.
I gotta say, I'd be out of that coffin in 2 seconds. I'm not having sex number 2 in a closed coffin.
I will have sex with you in your fucking ice cream truck. Don't make me go back in that coffin.
Get the fuck out of the vampire lair. Like, ew, smelly vampire
and
coffin?
I think that it's, and you're right. It is funny how they like can basically just with vampire movies. It seems like you can do basically whatever you want, except the trend for most of them is that vampires are hungry for like human flesh and blood or whatever.
Yeah.
So even though Mark is no longer a virgin, they still don't need to kill or like hurt or drink blood from these other people. They seem not to care.
Right. I love that part of it. I love the non-scary side of this because vampire movies are really scary. I mean, most of them are very scary, and it's they're mostly about like murder and killing. It doesn't, you know, there's such like a lightheartedness to this that they really were just like, I mean, you know, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer is kind of like that, but it gets like pretty grim, that one, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely killing people.
Yeah,
for sure. So yeah, you're right, and maybe that it's the comedy edge, but I liked it. It lightened the mood, lowered the stakes.
Yeah, which I love.
Yeah,
it's an approachable vampire film.
Yeah. However, the best part by far is the dance off.
Oh, so
the
good
middle of the movie. So I was remembering when I was thinking about doing this movie, the reason I remembered it recently was because I was watching some TV program where somebody was in a phone a date kind of club. And I was like, oh, there's another movie that has that. And I was like, oh, Once Bitten. So I was like, we have to watch that. And you like didn't remember what I was talking about. And then I was thinking about it today, like before I watched it, and just like had the vivid memory of Robin like ripping off her Jill costume and just having like a sexy
Thank you. I was really drawn to that part too.
And a lace and this like sheer lace skirt that is like perfect, and like her white dance shoes that are just like
I love that outfit. I'm like obsessed with it.
And she like is an actual
she's a dancer,
I think. She's amazing, and they do this like great dance scene, and And yeah, you're like, why do they know this dance? And it's confusing to you.
I mean,
and then you're like, I think they're doing the Thriller dance.
Well,
Did you notice that?
oh no, but I was, as a former dancer, I was very impressed by the dance moves. They were very original and like really, really neat. And also it felt through the lens of like 2019, 2020, like Dancing with the Stars. I mean, they like mix in these like little, like Dancing with the Stars mix in like a little bit of, well, it's ballroom, but like it's not all ballroom because they, use kind of like normal people. So there's just those like little ballroom elements that I just like loved. And I agree. I was like obsessed when she's like whipping off, because she's in her Jill costume, which is pretty like demure. And she's fighting. So the dance off is between her and the Countess. So the Countess, has her slinky little outfit and her nails, and she's like all sex. So Robin is starting off being like, okay, I look like a frumpy nursery rhyme character. And she's like little red cheeks. And she's like, how do I improve this? And then she's just like slowly like taking off her clothes. And it's like, yeah.
And as luck would have it, she has a perfectly acceptable, cool, awesome outfit underneath it. So, and the white leotard is like a little revealing and it's a little scary, but overall amazing scene. So like her hair and like, oh, it's so good. And then the song is it an original song or is this a real song?
Yeah, so I don't know like what this band is, but the Once Bitten, and I believe this song, which is called Hands Off, He's Mine, I believe, which is like very hands off, he belongs to me, hands off. Yeah, so like totally like I love that when like song ties in like that. Yeah. Is by this band 3 Speed. Okay, cool. Ooh. I don't know if and I think they played at the dance, so that must have been them. But I think they did the Once Bitten song too, so where'd they go? Cool song though, very 80s, very 80s.
So 80s.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But yeah, great scene.
Yeah.
And Jim Carrey, I mean, he holds his own. He's a pretty good little dancer himself.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what can that guy not do? He's damn talented.
Yeah. Keep a straight face, maybe. I don't know. Just kidding. He does.
Speaking
Eternal
of that,
Sunshine.
Speaking of that, so we already did say that there are elements of this. So mostly a straight man film for him. He doesn't, there's comedy, but like not to the level of like facial elasticity, let's say, that like his other roles he brought to his other roles. But there's glimpses of what he would eventually become, right? So there's like 2 moments that I identified. Number 1, he does a Robert De Niro impression and does this like furrowed eyebrow thing. And if you've ever seen like any of his stand-up or anything like that, it's like it's tons of impressions, right? And he's like spot on, and then he brings those to his different movie roles. But this is just like his face is elastic, right? So he can make and mold himself into basically anyone, both how he sounds and what he looks like. And so this was like a Robert De Niro one that was like very quick, but it was there.
Right. It was so subtle and like low effort, but he did an amazing job. And I was like, is that the best Robert De Niro impression I've ever seen in like a 5-second window? Maybe.
So good.
I was very impressed.
So good.
Yeah, totally that one.
And then the other one I noticed was when they were in the store that Robin works in, and he's like goofing off, and she's trying to help this woman who, by the way, is like the worst customer ever. She's like, I have a yellow skirt. Like, do you know like what shirt would go with it? Like, who goes up to a saleswoman and says that?
I know.
Like, fucking figure out yourself. Anyway, so then he's like goofing off on the side, and it like, I feel like is it Ace Ventura? He does that too, or some other movie.
Yeah.
Some other movie where he's like distracting somebody.
Or he's doing like a monkey kind of thing.
Oh. Oh my god!
Oh no, you're right.
No.
Wayne's World. I think you're thinking.
Oh, I'm thinking of Wayne's World. Yeah, maybe.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
And she's like on the phone and like, okay,
right.
Bye.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like he's goofing off and she's trying to help this customer, and he's just like doing silly things on the side, and like you honestly believe that actress was like totally, really, actually like cracking up, because I think what I've heard from like Jim Carrey in the set, like people like it's just him, he's like Robin Williams, like you cannot focus with that guy, like
you can't turn him off.
He's like, just constantly making you crack up. So that was another like part I noticed.
And then the part where the 2 kids get order like a fudgesicle or whatever, and then he turns around to get the ice cream, and then he whips back and does the like vampire hiss, but he's doing like the Jim Carrey like crazy face, like
Yeah.
like that face. And that's, you know, obviously peak Carrey for sure.
Oh, totally.
And then I noticed he has this thing, and he did this in Ace Ventura too, and I think we talked about it there, where there's this moment when he and Melissa are having sex or whatever. I think it's when she's like, oh my God, 3 times. And he's like, okay, I'm ready again. And he like swoops in. He's just very like passionate or something, but it's like a scary kind of passion because it's just like really intense.
Yeah.
And I think it has to do with like his intense comedy like face, right? So when he goes in for a kiss in this, it's the same kind of weird, intense, like passionate look on his face that just makes me like a little bit uncomfortable, just like a smidgen. It's just like aggressive kissing.
I also want to say that because it's like his early movie role, and I think this goes away. You hear like little bits of it in random dialogue he'll have. Again, I'm like a huge Jim Carrey fan, so I'm like a stalker. But he's Canadian, right? So this one you really like hear much more of his Canadian accent, I think, than like in other ones, which is so adorable, and I just love.
I missed it. Did you say
I
a
know.
boot?
Yeah, I mean, basically. And it's so cute. So, because you forget sometimes, I mean, a lot of Canadian actors, you completely don't, people don't even know that they're Canadian. But there's like
Peter.
these tiny little
Venkman.
accents. I know.
Venkman, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's like my
just, like,
favorite.
I know. That's why I said it. Sometimes I'll just like say that in my head, like when I do something bad. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So if you guys don't, you don't know, Dan Aykroyd, Canadian, and there's like in Ghostbusters, kind of towards the very end, there's a great like him using his Canadian accent to say, "I'm sorry" is a good one. Sorry, you know, Dan Aykroyd, love him.
Good times. And then I wanted to mention that. Okay, so the one thing I was confused about, Sweetie Confusion. Yeah. One of the things they do, like when they're showing us how crazy kind of Mark is being and like how weird he's getting now that he's turning into a vampire. There's one scene where he like sleepwalks into a anatomy class and is dissecting a frog and doesn't realize it. And the teacher's like, Mark, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm dissecting this frog. And she's like, you're not in this class. And then he looks up and the class is like laughing at him. What is that about?
No.
He's like holding up a piece of the frog liver like to the light, like, oh, like he wasn't like eating the frog or anything. It was really bizarre. So I don't know what that was supposed to mean. That was my one confusion. A couple of standout scenes that I remembered still to this day are when, so like I said, Mark is a big fan of juice. So he gets like a juice glass and then his mom is making his favorite breakfast, egg burger. And which I always thought was so gross when I was little. And I was like, what is egg burger? Ew. And now I'm like, oh, it was just a burger with an egg on it.
Oh, okay.
Which is like probably amazing. Or a burger with like an egg in the middle and then they cook it and the yolk comes out. I don't know. It's
If
probably something
he
delicious.
normally likes like hockey puck burgers, that's what was
What?
his
Yeah.
egg burger?
Why does he like
that? Seems like
breakfast-
not a
egg burger?
breakfast that he would be
You're
into.
right. That is
Plot hole.
contradictory. So his mom drains out like a whole thing of like beef blood juice in a glass and then like leaves it on the counter. And then Mark sets his glass of orange juice. So he
Juice of
realizes-
orange. That was great.
And don't make a scene.
His juice of orange. You're like an old timey
Listen.
character.
Saying a lot of words. I'm losing oxygen to my brain.
I know.
So he's in a rush. So he's like, oh, I gotta go. And like such a mom thing to be like, what, aren't you going to finish your juice? Like our dad also was big on us. It was like a big problem if we did not finish our juice. We were in trouble.
Okay. And I want to say this goes literally back to my life now because I can't drink a lot of juice. I just can't do it. It's not in me, right? So like we'll have breakfast in the morning and like I think a couple times Jimmy has poured me like a full thing of juice. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like, I like can literally drink a quarter glass of juice. So as Sweetie said,
Shot of juice.
I remember, right. I only need a shot. I just like want to sip. But I remember like our dad would go all of our leftover juice. He would drink himself Like there'd be all these like half-filled juice glasses, and the poor guy like came from a time where like you didn't waste anything, so he would like go around and drink like everyone's juice.
He'd be like, "Damn, these kids not drinking their juice,
Oh.
not finishing their juice." It was like his
my
number one pet
God.
peeve that we did. Number two
man.
was like leaving the lights on.
Yeah.
But man, good memory, juice. But that's why they have juice glasses, guys. Those like little itty bitty juice glasses.
I know.
They're for juice.
Only a
'Cause you don't
tiny
want to
bit.
drink a lot of juice.
Right.
It's a lot of sugar.
It's a lot of sugar. Diabetes.
But yeah, great scene. He's just like chugging the glass of blood, and his mom and dad are so like freaked out, and they're like,
Well, remember the
And his
dad's like oh, okay.
yeah, he's like, well, guess he can't be anemic. Can he? So, second question: why are his parents so old?
I don't know. When the dad showed up in his room when he was sleeping in the trunk, we were like, who's that? Like, didn't make sense.
They were both like pretty old.
Pretty old. That feels like
yeah,
a very
so-
80s thing too. I don't know, like old
yeah,
parents.
true.
Like you had to like establish they were parents, so they had to look old, and like everyone looked old in the 80s. I don't know. It's my theory. I'm sticking to it.
Great. In 30 years from now, they're gonna be like, everyone in 2020 looked like a loser.
Well, you know when you look at pictures from the 1930s and like a 20-year-old looks like they're 60? I mean, I don't know.
It's depressing.
It's depressing.
It's depressing. It's depressing. And then the last thing I had was that so they do a pretty good job of kind of making Robin seem really like immature or something at least in the beginning, right? So she's like the Jill costume. She's like kind of goody two shoes, like, oh, I don't want to have sex in the ice cream truck, even though that's a perfectly reasonable request to make. She has a school folder. Now, keep in mind, they're 18 years old. She has a school folder with crayons on it. Like a child's folder with crayons, real crayons, blown up. And so you get like a blue crayon, an orange crayon.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I was like,
What is this?
seems out of place / not right for your age. Yeah.
But I think it was just they were trying to make her more like weirdly infantile or something.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, overall lived up to my memories. I had a great time. It was just the right amount of length.
Wait,
and
I have
a lot of good 80s stuff.
I have way more stuff.
Yeah, I'm not
Way more.
I'm not wrapping up.
Oh, okay. I was like, hold up.
But yeah, what do you got?
Okay. All right. So first of all, okay, did you notice when they got arrested at the club, or like the shooter happened at the club, the telephone club or whatever, and then the cops arresting the two friends were like these tiny model cops, which are like the skinniest women I have ever seen. And I'm like, if you were a cop, I am
And their
something.
hair, their hair was like swept up in like a messy, sexy. You could tell it was just like not. It was only being held up by their hat. Like they stuffed their hair into their hat so that when they could take it off, they could be like.
It was
I'm
like the
sexy.
start of a porno or something. I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
they were like stripper cops.
Who wrote exactly. Who wrote this?
Men wrote it.
So bullshit. Again, horrible trans joke in that one, which we say is so common in the 80s especially. So like the friend receives a call on his telephone, and then he goes to another table and it's a man, and he's kind of confused at first, but then like then he does ask him, he's like, are you a man? And then he's like, oh man, weird. And then like the guy's like, you pussy.
Yeah,
Like,
what?
that was so weird. It was just that stuff's so bizarre to me. But they're literally in every 80s movie. I mean, you can like count on it. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever happened to Acid Rain? Okay, so Mark character when he first meets the Countess, he fakes his age. He says he's in college and he's 21, and he's studying to be an engineer or something.
Was that real? I thought he was just like making shit up to just like say things. But yeah, he wants to be an electrical technician or something.
Electrical engineer or something like that. And his big thing is about acid rain. So if you grew up in the 80s / early 90s, like acid rain was all the rage, right? People talked about it all the time, and it was really scary. Now we have much bigger fish to fry, I will say. So was it just like that was the only thing people could like complain
They were,
about?
like, don't drink the rain because it could be acid
Yes. And it was like, what the hell was acid rain, first of all? Why don't we have acid rain anymore? Also, what is going on with the ozone layer? Because I feel like that was also a thing that people like constantly talked about. We don't talk about it anymore. Is that still a problem?
I don't like. They thought that it was. Yeah, I mean, I think it is kind of thinning, right? The ozone layer.
Yeah. What about the outfall pipe? Remember, like stop signs, and it'd be
What
a
were those?
stop
What was
sign,
that?
and it would say
Was that
underneath
just a Cape
the
Cod
outfall
thing?
pipe. I don't know. Did anyone else have
I
this?
asked Mom about that one time.
What was the outfall pipe?
Yeah, I don't know. But so for acid rain, I don't know if you did this, but in elementary school, in like 3rd or 4th grade, we did an experiment where you like collected rain, like whatever at school, and then you had like little the acid paper test, which was like my favorite thing in science
the
class,
strips,
to
yeah.
do like the acid strip test. And then you put it in, and then you match up the color, and it's like on one side is the base, and another side is like the acid. So we all like tested our water from like our collected at our homes or whatever, and I think everybody had like a kind of like a small trace amount of like acidic water.
Well, I wonder if because
Rain.
of like emissions, so that is when, sort of towards the tail end of
So-
that, those kind of regulations started coming into effect. So I wonder if that helped that
Right.
whole
So
situation.
it's due to pollution, apparently, according to the internet. Rainfall made sufficiently acidic by atmospheric pollution that causes environmental harm, typically to forests and lakes. The main cause is industrial burning of coal and other fossil fuels.
Okay.
Yeah, so makes
Okay,
sense. Checks out.
so that makes sense. But that was a huge to do. Remember, like acid rain.
But it seemed to us like when it rains,
Yeah.
it's gonna burn your skin off, and you're gonna turn into the end of Raiders of the Lost
Yeah,
Ark. Like,
they
it
really-
just seemed that was the purpose.
Yeah, they love to scare
Really
us.
spooked you.
Really spooky. Okay, and then I have two kind of trivia-ish kind of stuff. Okay, so apparently the writer of this movie, by the time this movie came out, he had already burned through his earnings of what he earned to like write this movie. So he was working in like a video store. So then this movie came out, and someone came up to him and like didn't know who he was. Obviously, no one recognizes
Yeah.
writers, and complained about this movie and the plot of it. And he was like, "Whoa, that's crazy! I wrote that movie."
Or no, they were
Imagine
like,
that?
I read that one. They were like, whoever wrote this shouldn't be in the film business.
yeah.
And the guy
Wow.
was like, oh, nuts, I'm not.
What a slap in the face. That much. I mean, how, like, what are the odds that someone is going to complain about the one movie that you ever wrote when you're like working at a Blockbuster? Fuck that.
Pretty random tidbit of
yeah.
trivia, though.
And then we haven't done this one in a while because not every trivia has this, but this one did. The title of this movie in different countries. I always find this very fascinating, right? Because it's like, okay, how we don't really have this problem because we don't have as many. Obviously, there's foreign films that we get, but there's way more like U.S. and American movies that make their way to other countries, right? So then they translate those titles in ways that would, like, I don't know, make sense for. There's no direct translation, translations are always a little different. So here's what we got. So France had two of them. I don't know why they would translate it two ways in French. That seems weird to me, but this is what it is. So the first one is seduction has teeth. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Vampires forever. That seems like kind of bro-y, but cool.
Kind of random.
Yeah.
Sure. All encompassing.
Brazil. I feel like South America always has some good ones. Virgin boy wanted. Good one.
Ooh.
Like that one.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Argentina. I love a vampire. Okay. Hungary. Just one bite. Okay. A little closer. And then this one, way out in left field for me. Poland. Kiss princess.
That's great.
Yeah. They're so random. And yeah, I really don't like get it, but why it's so different. Like why you could, I guess once bitten wouldn't mean what it does
Well,
here.
it's not like a common. Yeah, no, yeah. Language is a very fascinating.
I know.
and
That's why I always love that.
ambiguous
Love that
thing.
segment.
So, I mean, it makes sense. But even, yeah, and I work with people who speak Spanish, and they tell me like a lot of like the weird titles that they have over in Spain or wherever. And it goes beyond like the title of the movie. Even like sometimes like lines in movies will be changed. So like in Terminator, the big one in Spain is like instead of hasta la vista, which like is a Spanish phrase, he says sayonara, baby or something.
Which is Japanese.
Right. Because it can't be. Why would you say just like a word in Spanish in a you know what I mean? Like it's funny because he's not Spanish and he says hasta la vista,
that's
baby.
tricky, right?
So
when
that's
it's in
why
a
they
different
changed
language.
it, 'cause like, the context of that joke like doesn't really make sense.
See you
So
later.
it still
yeah.
doesn't really make sense when they changed it, but it's just it's fascinating. Fascinating.
Interesting. I love it.
What else?
That's all I have. I mean, I feel like that was pretty good. More than I usually have, let's just say.
Good.
We've been doing some weird 80s movies that really don't have any trivia, so I was happy there's a couple. Though,
Maybe we're the ones who are supposed
here's
to.
one I read, but I didn't share, but I will share it now. They said that they wanted Michael J. Fox for this one, but they didn't feel like he could carry it.
When you said we haven't done this in a while, I thought you were going to say guess who else they wanted for the role of whatever.
My
And I
God.
had it ready. I was going to be like, I bet it's Michael J. Fox.
Could you
or
see that?
Jason Bateman or whatever. Not Jason Bateman. No, I meant Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't know if I could see. Well, I was going to say
they wouldn't have taken away a lot of the kooky stuff he does is only kooky because of the way that Jim Carrey does it.
Oh,
So
totally.
There's not like a note that's like Mark makes a weird face. Like
Right.
he's doing all that.
Right.
Right. So Michael J. Fox would have done it.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if I could see him being like, he doesn't like carry like a sexual kind of thing to me. I mean, this movie is like pretty sexy. It's all about like virginity and stuff. But then you have to remember like it's Teen Wolf. There was some like sexy stuff in that.
What?
Yeah.
I know. Now that you're saying that, I'm like, has he ever been?
Well, remember
Sexual,
he
but
like
I don't-
has sex with the hot girl, like in the dressing room, and he's like making the like wolf noises.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
I was like,
Sure.
whoa. I feel unclean.
But he never lived out his like Tom Cruise potential, I guess, of like,
No.
having these sex comedies.
No,
or
he's
whatever,
too
sex
short.
Dramas. No, yeah, you're right. Sweet little MJ Fox.
Babe.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, great movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it in a while, or if you've never seen it. I think it's
free.
totally consumable. Yep, free on Vudu or
Yeah.
Tubi or something.
Voodoo and Tubi, Voodoo with commercials. That was kind of a bummer, but
Listen,
there's.
I paid for it because I'm just like over commercials at
God,
this point. Like
worse.
I do Hulu without the ads, and it's probably the best thing that's ever happened to
it's
me. Murder, She Wrote is back on
Murder,
Amazon Prime,
She
you guys,
Wrote.
except it's like not through Amazon. It's through like something else.
Oh.
So you have to get ads now with it. It's very upsetting. But if it means I get my Jessica Fletcher back, then
Yay!
whatever.
Are you almost
so
done
they-
with the whole series?
well, no, because I had to take a 3-month break when they decided to take it off.
Are you to the
streaming.
well, let's remember there's a couple seasons there where she's like not even in it, and it's like these people, these
Yeah, you
stand-in
told
friends
me
of
that.
hers.
I haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay.
I'm on like season 5.
It's really
Here's my
disappointing.
question though: is there supposed to be a suggested love triangle between the sheriff and the autopsy guy? Like
Whoa.
the coroner? Like what?
Wow. No, I don't know.
Okay, because you never told me that, but I'm
I don't
getting these
remember that.
vibes, and it's,
Wow.
it's very weird.
Wow.
They're like vying for her affections. It's strange. But yeah, good times. Find us on Twitter at the Sweetie Club or on Instagram at Large Marge sent us. Thank you as always for listening. Bye.
Bye, Vampire Rape Artist.